Never stop chasing your dreams.
And never say never.
Hey.
How's it going?
Good. How about with you?
Not bad, not bad. We're moving into Pride season, and this is where we get all our great guests. Like tonight, we've got Kelly from Queer Koalas, and this is out of LA, and she is ready. So let's welcome Kelly as.
Hey. Hi,
Hey,
welcome.
Thank you.
Hi. Hi, it's great to meet you. We were just saying how this feels like the best transition into Pride season, you know?
Yeah, I hope a lot of people feel that way.
Tell us a little bit about that so that people understand what Queer Koalas is all about and what the mission, the goal is.
Great. Well, first of all, can I get your pronouns? That way I don't mess anybody's up. I'm she, her.
She, her.
Okay, great. Yeah, so basically I've been working in animation for 15, 18 years, a very long time. And the last few years, I've been working on everybody's NFT projects. And I just kind of had a moment watching everybody else sell out their projects and make the movie or the video game or all the things they wanted to do. And I was like, well, you know, like queer women, lesbians don't have a space in LA. And I've been here for 10 years now, and this is like a huge problem. I don't know if it's ever going to happen. I feel like we have the Ruby Fruit, which is a wine bar, which is a very good start. So I started doing a little bit more research into how much it would cost to open a full service bar. And then I started crunching some numbers, how many characters I'd have to make. And I was like, wow, this could actually work. Like if we actually sell out 10,000 of these queer koalas, it'll be enough to open a space. It'll also be enough to offer $5 beverage options for everybody 24/7. I mean, there'll be other beverage options as well, but one of the really cool things about crowdfunding this is that there's no bank to pay back. Once we have the money, we have the space, we pay the rent, and it gives us about a 6 to 8 month runway of literally we have 6 to 8 months to make even $1.
Right.
So anything that's made in those 6 to 8 months rolls into the next 6 months of paying rent, and it's able to create these sort of new business models that aren't, like a $20 drink because we have to pay back the bank and, rent is so high, and it's just, it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it just so I was like, this could actually be really cool, and this could actually solve a lot of problems because a lot of places, are just a bit overpriced and they're not accessible, or maybe somebody can go once, but people need to go outside of their homes and meet different people and learn about each other and go make friends or flirt with somebody or get over a breakup or start a new relationship or even learn more things about the queer community. Like maybe you're like, oh, my sister's queer, I want to know more. Like when she comes to visit, I want to bring her here, or my brother, anybody, just to find out a little bit more information. So I feel like there's really just a large group of people that this is going to service, and it's not going to exclude them because it's so expensive. And another really cool thing is we're trying to do a cafe by day and a bar by night. So it's like, if you don't want to be around a loud, crazy party space, come during the day. Have a latte, relax, meet some friends. I'm trying to also get musicians, comedians, poets, different people to come through. I just participated in Equality Fashion Week, and they had a big art market. And I was like, this is such a great idea. I feel like the cafe and bar should have a market either every Saturday or Sunday. That way, people can just know, oh, I can just go in there and maybe I can get some cool thrift vintage stuff, or maybe I can get a painting by an artist or a keychain or a birthday present. And it would be something like where none of the vendors need to pay to participate. They can just come, set up, first come, first serve. It'll rotate through. And I think that would just be like really great to like bring everybody together, and this is a completely creative project. This is like using like art and animation as like a solution for
Mhm.
all these like very large problems. So I think having like an art market with vendors that like want to share their creativity and all the things they're working on would be like even cooler to like keep developing and have it just as like this great place to come visit on the weekend, during the day, nighttime. Like
Yeah.
Sure.
something will be going on that will
And
be like representative of just everybody's talents in this
right. And
community that
there's
is
and that's
just
the thing is that you're out of LA. There's so much
hmm
talent there and there's so many creatives, that
Right.
hmm
you have to say to yourself, how could this not work? You know,
Right.
it's just
yeah
like it is I think any kind of queer space like that makes you feel safe and makes you feel comfortable and welcome, is what everybody looks for,
yeah
outside of a nightclub,
yeah
because every like I just a couple weeks ago, it was my wife's birthday and we went to a pub here in London, well, outside of London, down by the coast in Brighton. And I love the fact that all over the pub they had queer artists work with their
hmm
contact information and the price, so you could contact that artist and actually come back and buy that piece. And then they just keep
Hmm.
filling it up because it's like there's a never ending, well of art that could just keeps going up. So it's so, I just think that places are just now like starting to understand that outside of having an installation or a gallery showing, how do these people, make money? They're creative, they're talented, they're brilliant, and they're trying to promote a website, with pictures of their work, which is not the same as seeing it in a space. So
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
think that it's really something that's catching on. Like I've seen it in a couple of other pubs too. I see it at my doctor's office. When I sit in the waiting room, there's all kinds of
yeah
art on the walls and it's got the artist name and the contact information. And I'm like, this is,
Yeah. Yeah.
it,
Everywhere. Yeah.
yeah. So why not? Like, why not celebrate a queer piece of art, a queer artist, a queer, and NFTs seem to be, digital art right now is just having an explosion.
Mhm.
It's just having an
Yeah.
explosion. And it's just it's a great way for people to do what they want once they've purchased it. Whether they want to print it out, whether they want to put it on a canvas, or whether, whatever they want to do with it, leave it on your computer, use it as a wallpaper, whatever they want to do with it, it's theirs. And it's a great way because I don't know about you, but I would say probably like, I don't know, about maybe started around 5 years ago. Anybody I talked to was a graphic artist. And
hmm
I didn't know what that meant.
hmm
Like, does that mean you build websites? Does that mean you create art online? Does that mean you Photoshop? Like I had no, and now it's like now I get it. All this time has passed. So many people are in that business. I've
Yeah.
had to
Yeah.
use them for a book cover. I've had to use like all of a sudden, I see the need, and I think like the artist just slid right in there. It was just like a really nice, smooth transition for that. And I feel like it's the way forward in a sense. It's definitely a way forward, especially with animation. I like I was like trying to find a way to get an idea across for something that I needed animation done for. And my friend said, "Well, let me go on Fiverr and take a look and see what
Mhm.
that's like." And I'm like, didn't even know what that was, had no clue. Anyway, she found this guy, and it turns out she's in LA, I'm in London, and he lives 15 minutes from my door, and he's queer. And it was just like,
wow
whoa, that felt like it
Oh,
was meant to be. Yeah, Steve. And he made like the greatest little cartoon figures, exactly what I needed. Sent him a bunch of photos, communicated with him so he got a feel for personality, and he just hit it out of the park. And it was like a whole new thing for me, like to learn the background part of it, the rigging. Like my director was doing rigging, Steve was creating the character, and I was doing like the voice, and it was just like, oh, this is so nice the way this works. This little pot of creatives, everybody bringing their stuff to the table for a project, that was just a concept at some point. So I get what you mean by like now you're launching on the 28th and you're putting it out there for everybody to see. And you've had all this time to tweak and fix and make it exactly what you want. And you got to show it to everybody. And it's a little bit, makes you feel a little vulnerable.
It's really interesting. It's been a really cool journey as an artist. I've had to take this like big leap of faith and just be like, okay, like honestly, Kelly, if nobody buys them, like at me as an artist, I've had a great time making them, and I've really spent like I just had a good time, I just literally created characters that were things that I've seen in LA. There's like flannel lesbians, there's like tattooed completely koalas, there's kink, there's little roller skate, there's skateboards, there's
Yeah.
basketball, there's like surfers, there's some with nipple piercings, they have septum piercings, and it's just all this stuff that like you would just never like Disney, Pixar would never make it. They would be like, it's too much.
A little offensive. It's a
But
little offensive, right?
but
Right.
it's not. It's like this is literally how people are. Like this is what people wear. This is how people are living, and this is the way they're expressing themselves. And like, why are they not being represented in animation? So I was like,
Mhm.
I'm just gonna do it. So I've been having a blast, just like having these really cool characters and thinking about their style and their fashion and just all these like really great things. I mean, even one of the characters is literally the first ever, I think. I haven't found any yet. Trans top surgery character in CG
Oh,
animation. I don't know if one exists in anime out there somewhere, but like it's literally never been done. And like that was going to be obviously like one of the categories from the get-go.
Sure.
I have
yeah.
so many friends here, and it's just like so awesome watching them like just grow and be like so proud of themselves and then be like representatives for other people and then other people see what they're doing and just like it's just like really cool and inspiring, and I think like that's like the biggest part of this project is that once you like see the whole like queer community, it's just so like cool and diverse and empowering and inspiring, and everybody's so strong and like they help others and everybody understands what's going on and the challenges. And it's like a really great community that I don't think a lot of like other groups are like really representing, paying any attention to. And the more and more I talk to people, it seems like out of LGBTQIA plus, only like gay men are being represented ever.
Yeah, that's a
Oh,
good
Everybody
point.
else
Yeah.
is being excluded
yeah.
across
It's
everything.
Yes.
bars, especially
Spaces,
in the bar space. Yeah,
Mhm.
or the clubs,
bars,
venues.
venues, like cruises, like Disney
Yeah.
cruises, things like that. Like they're all and it's weird. It's kind of like the world is acting like we don't exist.
Yeah.
That's like actually we do exist and there's like a lot of us and everybody is so cool and interesting and wildly talented. And I really think like a space like this and an art project like this is just gonna bring like more awareness to like, oh my God, like what are all these queer women doing? Wait, why don't they have a space? Why aren't there
Yeah,
more spaces anywhere in the world? Why is it like a handful? Like
Right. Right.
what's
true.
going on? Like uh, you know,
We are
and
losing
it's
our bars. I mean, left and right.
Bar.
It's just they're. I mean, I
yeah.
was just back in Florida, and I'm just stunned that there's no exclusive, lesbian bars anymore. It's just you get a lesbian night at a gay boy bar,
And
and
that's a global thing. That's all over the
yeah,
world,
yeah,
But I am impressed with your how much you've thought this through. Most artists do not do math like they don't think that way, like mathematically, and you've done the right brain, left brain thing where you figured out how much money you need, like to even how much money a drink should cost. And so if you were going to get the money from a bank, it's so much better to not go that route and do the crowdfund. But I just think that, like I said, most artists don't think that way. They're just doing the art part of it. So, in fact, you're so well prepared and this is so well thought out. I just can't see this losing because I think there's a need. And are you the only artist, or do you have other artists? Will other artists be contributing their work to the project when you get a space?
It's just me right now doing the koalas, and I have had help from like a few people that are like finance specialists, trademark law, and it's really amazing.
That's
They've all appeared from the Instagram ad post where, I was like, hey, I'm looking for
awesome.
somebody that could help me like with finance stuff. And, Rupali was like, hey, I do finance and like I'm a queer woman and I want to like help out and like let me know what you need help with. So it's
Yeah.
been really cool to like tap into all the resources that like I don't specialize in. But like from the
Hmm.
beginning, I kind of knew that I was like, I shouldn't be scared. Like, there's a lot of people that are really good at what they do. They want this to
Yeah.
happen, and the right people will come along at the right times when I need it. I just need to like pose the question out into the world and see who responds and just follow the leads and,
That's
put all these pieces together and just not be intimidated that like I am not a finance specialist, but Rupali is, and she loves finance, and she's
Right.
done this for a million startups, and she's like, oh my God, like this is perfect. Like I want to do something for my community. I want this space. So it's just been really beautiful actually seeing like everybody contribute.
that
And
is.
there will be, yeah, no, it's been really cool. And like, this is what I thought would happen and what I wanted to happen, just like, let's just see, because
It's
I'm only one person,
right, but you've
but
got
like,
resources. That's the nice thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like once you
Right.
tap into those resources and everybody's kind of lending their specialty or their expertise,
Mhm.
A, you don't feel alone. B, you don't feel like you're
Right.
failing at
Right.
something. And C,
Mhm.
yeah,
they're, actually contributing something that they specialize in. You can
Yeah.
learn from it. It will obviously help in the end result for the project. So yeah, I mean, why not? Why not tap
That's
into those
a
resources?
concept.
And I think, I think one of the things that always astounds me is the quirkiness of our community. Like
hmm
if you ask somebody, like, do you know a venue that would be okay with having like a spoken word slam poetry thing? Boom, they know it. And they know somebody that knows, the place and they can hook you up. It's just reaching out sometimes.
Right. True.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like sometimes you don't want to ask for help for whatever
That's,
reasons, but when you do, I just find that you usually get exactly what you were looking for, and it makes
yeah.
a difference in the world to you, to them, to those, the ones that have helped and contributed. It's like a nice little cycle, that we find the minute we open up and just ask, you know.
You're right.
yeah.
I
And I
mean, it
mean,
does make everyone's contributing. So now you have like teamwork. So you have more the energy of more people pulling for this to work. You can focus more on your art because you're not wearing all the hats. So you've got the person doing the finance, and that's like really like the right recipe for a successful project is to put people around you who are better at other things that you're not the best at. You find
Right.
those people.
Yeah.
That's the best
yeah.
way to
And
take it.
yeah, and one of the cool things about getting the koalas, and this is like a really cool thing about NFTs, is you're going to be getting this animation from a queer artist and you're supporting the space. But then there's all these benefits that will come from owning a queer koala. And like one of the benefits is actually like a private entrepreneur like group chat that'll be like on a Discord. And the way that this will like operate is that it's going to be basically like a resource for people, like it'll be like a Rolodex of things that people need. Like, I want to start a knitting company. Like,
Mm-hmm.
who makes websites? Who does taxes? And it'll be a series of vetted people. And it'll be like the same thing you said. Instead of like asking your friend, you're going to be like, oh, wait, like I have a queer koala. I can go on this like room and I could like find out all these resources from queer people, and hopefully it becomes this like big international project. And it's like something like Fiverr, or like, you know, basically like a very like more organized Google, but of vetted people that you trust, you know, or like, hey, I'm trying to have a party. Like, who's a DJ in this area, you know, or
Mm-hmm.
like who's a musician, or who's ever like, you know, taught at a school. I want to go to like nursing school. Like, you know, I feel like there's just like all these questions that people have,
Yeah.
and sometimes getting the answers is so complicated and everybody's so lost. And this is like a way of like bringing people together that are like trying to do things like, you know, I'm writing a book. How do I publish this book? I have a script, you know, and it's like connecting all these people. So there's going to be like some really good, like fun Discord groups like that like if you're a Queer Koala member, you're going to be able to access. Another one is, you know, looking for friends. I feel like that's the biggest one where like people sometimes are just like, I just want a friend, you know, like there's like a cool play down the street and like I don't want to go by myself,
Right.
you know? So it's like connecting people through friends. There's also going to be a chat just for like singles. Like, I'm single, I'm ready to get out there. The dating apps suck.
Right.
Maybe somebody that has a queer koala and is already on here and is like a member, like, hey, we already are supporting this project. We want the space. Like, we're kind of already aligned on, you know, a few things. So those are some of the things that are going to be like rolled out throughout the year for people to like use and develop and kind of create this like ecosystem of more queer people working together.
Is it going to be like the wet people go in? Do they get to select the koala they want to buy?
Yeah, so the process is going to be basically the whole website's going to have a new page, and it's going to have this buying purchase page. And currently, right now, the first 5,000 are going to be available, which are the cuties. And basically, we have a few tiers. Cuties are the first tier. They cost $100. There's 5,000 of them. So, like, everybody can grab one. And then there's the hotties tier, which is 3,900. And then there's going to be a rare tier of 1,000 and a super rare of 100. And then there's one alchemist, only one. And the
Oh,
alchemist, yeah, the alchemist is one character, goes on sale. And that one will probably be actually the coolest and have literally like all the koalas in it and just this like insane animation that I'm going to create. But basically, the first cuties that are going to go on sale on the 28th, and we're going to release them in tiers every 2 months. Like the new ones will come out. So I think it'll be kind of fun and exciting to see, like, you know, when are they coming out? What are going to be the new ones? Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, and the buying is going to be really easy. You're going to be able to check out with Google Pay, Apple Pay, credit card.
Nice.
There's even Klarna, so if you want to pay in installments, you know, like
nice.
$25 at a time for installments over 4 months, you know.
Yeah.
Um, all of that will be available. And the way you'll go and select it is you'll go through some categories. And the categories are all really fun. They're basically like, there's all the zodiacs. There's going to be the style one that has tattoo, kink, flannel lesbians. Then there's going to be all the sports, any sport, soccer, basketball, surfing, skating, roller
Excellent.
skating. Then there's going to be the whole pride section. And in the pride section are all of our like pride flags. There's an intersectional flag. There's a lesbian flag. There's a bisexual flag. And there's a trans flag. There's even a drag koala,
Oh,
and there's a whole top surgery category. So those are the pride ones, and then there's a substance sort of psychedelic mushroom one, and that'll be its own little thing. But those are going to basically be the categories, you know? And then there's like a few careers that are like a cowpoke, an astronaut, and then there's like a boss and like a whole suit.
oh yeah.
Ah,
So, you
what
know,
this is like reminiscent of when the Smurfs came out. Do you remember that, Denise?
Yeah, I do.
They were
So
Smurf for
old. I'm so
everything.
old. I do. I do.
Right? I know. I know. We're way older. We remember that. Do you even know who the Smurfs are?
I do know. I
Probably
actually
not.
I actually worked on the Smurfs movie, so I'm really familiar with the Smurfs.
Excellent,
Oh,
excellent.
Yeah, and
you'd go into like the Hallmark store because they sold them at Hallmarks usually, or like card stores, and they'd have like the new ones every month, and it would be the little kayaking Smurf, the guitar playing Smurf,
Yeah,
all the different, like exactly what you were saying, the walks of life, which is so great because it will appeal to so many different people. They're going to want their koala for who they are, like for what
yeah.
represents them. That's like so cool.
What I like
yeah,
about it is that it's not a physical, tangible thing, so you can't
Yeah.
lose like that.
yeah.
Like that's important to me. It's not a keychain that's gonna fall off. It's not a thing that you have to carry with you. You won't be able to lose this.
And I found this really great company called CrossMint, and they're the ones that basically have created a platform to accept all these credit cards, Apple Pay. And so basically what happens when you buy one, CrossMint in the background makes a digital wallet for you, stores it, you enter in your email, you like log in, and your NFT is right there.
Well, Kelly, thank you again so much. We really really appreciate. We want everybody to check out Queer Koalas LA on the Instagram and go from there and be ready for that
Yes.
launch on the 28th. Good luck to you.
Cool,
Yes.
thank you so much. Have a good day. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
Oh, look at that.
Hey,
I love it.
You did it. You did it.
I did it. Hi, Jill.
Thank you.
Finally.
Yes.
Thanks. You look fabulous, darling.
So do you. So do you. I mean,
No.
rock and roll, babe. I mean, I love it. I love your setup. That's like it's
Thank you.
So rock and roll. It's so rock and roll.
earrings, the whole thing.
Hey, I'm so glad I popped on.
Yes.
So glad you were able to.
Yes. Oh my God.
I'm tired of doing this shit by myself, man.
Oh, I miss you. so,
Yeah.
so far.
Awesome. So we were just catching up on all our personal,
Gossip.
stuff, so it worked out well. But
Good.
I have to say, when I logged on yesterday and I saw that you guys were finally able to update your socials with this news that not only is this movie done, but accepted at Cannes is,
Wow.
I mean, what was your thought? Like, tell me your reaction when you guys found out.
I mean, it's amazing. I mean, to clarify so that we're not misrepresenting, there a few years back, the festival, obviously, the only films that can be accepted at the festival are films that have theatrical releases. And that is not very many films. I mean, the majority of films are indie films that will never see a theatrical release for many reasons, budget, no stars, blah, blah. So they started this program called Go to Cannes. And that is where they took 7 basically regional festivals. And it's almost like there's like an Asian market, a Swiss market, like large markets, and there's a queer market. And they picked a festival that's like one of the biggest festivals in that particular market or genre. And they said, curate 5 films to bring to this market. And so each of these markets, as they call them, pick 5 films to bring to market, and we were one of 5 in the queer market to be chosen. The only American film, I believe, we might be the only American film in the entire 35 films that were chosen. I don't know that for sure, but I think there's not that many of us. And then I'm also fairly certain we're the lowest budget of all of them. So that's also a feather in our cap because that's my entire career has been that way. Simply, it's kind of a story of a toxic mentor. So my wife, Lauren, plays like an up and coming digital artist who at the beginning of the film, it's established that she has connected with a very powerful art curator who basically has the ability to make or break people's careers with her social media following. It's also obvious that there's some sort of attraction between the women, though they've never met in person. And and Andrea, the villain, for lack of a better word, our antagonist, she doesn't know what Lex looks like. Lex, who is Lauren's character's pseudonym, knows what Andrea looks like. So, but they have this flirtatious relationship. And you don't actually, what's interesting is the women don't even meet until the last third of the film, but that's another part of the story. So it's truly about a toxic mentorship situation where the mentor pushes Lex basically to the edge of sanity to get her to produce good work. And that she realizes that the less that Lex is taking care of herself and pushing her, the better the art is. And then a situation occurs where the art curator basically appropriates her work and presents it as her own, and the art sells and makes a shit ton of money. And then there is the showdown when Lex comes to find her. And so there's a little bit of like how we'll frame the pitch at Cannes is that it's almost a little Misery-ish in that it's like a two-hander where Lex's character basically hunts her down at her cabin retreat to have a little chat about how this whole thing went down. And then when you mix in the attraction, when you mix in the power differential, there's obviously racial overtones because this art curator is an older white woman who clearly has this habit of appropriating the work of women of color. This trip is huge because we're getting into the room. We're getting into the upper echelon, the highest of high in the film industry. And, believe me, I'm not stupid. I'm not thinking I'm going to walk away with some distribution deal. I don't even want one, to be honest with you. But I do want the opportunity to find potential partners that understand what I'm trying to sell, which is very different than most of the people who are selling at Cannes. I am not there to say I have a $5 million, $10 million film with A-list actors. No, I'm saying I have a community that's hungry for content because I've fucking been doing this for 20 years and I know that. Right. So take a little of your chicken scratch, throw it my way, and I'll show you what we can do with that. And I know not many people are selling that. So we feel like we have a unique selling proposition that very few people will have there.
And would you say that that's the basis for Fair Play Films?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes, we are.
Talk a little bit about what that is, because I think this is incredible and, again, timely for the situation where everyone's in. So
yes,
about that.
So while we were filming Under the Influencer, obviously, we had all $60,000 to work with, and that's hard. And we ended up using students for a lot of our crew. I mean, they made up probably a third of our crew, and they were like late year film students. And after we were done filming, we did interviews and we started talking to them, and we realized like what an impact we had made. And now most of these were women. A lot of them were women of color, queer kids. We realized they now have a real IMDb credit before they even graduate from college. And that's how you change things. You actually give opportunity, holding contests and doing workshops. Those are fantastic, but there's no replacement for actual experience on set and being on set from beginning to end. So I was like, this is a business model. This is a business model. So I started thinking about it. I was, talking to Katie, some of the other, our DP, who's a queer woman, Rachel Hastings Adair. She's fucking brilliant. And she brought all these queer women onto her set. It was diverse. It was amazing. And she's all about getting women behind the camera, especially DPs. Like it's a very, very male dominated world. So we started talking about this, and I developed a business plan that essentially sort of caps everybody's pay. So everyone from the executive producer down to craft services is basically making the same amount. And I am like the anti-auteur. I think the auteur style of filmmaking, which is basically the director is like the king and makes all the decisions. I think that's bullshit. I think that it creates it's like a patriarchy, and that is not
an imbalance of power. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
everyone has something to add to a film set, and every single person on that set is just as important. Craft services is fucking vital. Like,
oh yeah,
people are hungry, they don't do their best work. Everybody is
right.
so important on a set, and so we're flattening the structure, and then we're actually doing true profit sharing, where it's everyone participates in profit sharing. So that's the idea, and by doing this we can cap the budget. I'm looking at doing every project around 500,000, which is very comfortable. Everyone will make a day rate of about $500, which is a totally doable day rate for an independent film. And then we have basically in our budget, we've sort of set the budget levels. So we're like, this is how much money that we have for production design. So we have to write to our resources. And that is how you do independent film or low budget film. And I know this because I've been doing it my whole life. You don't take a script and say, this is how much money we need. When you're working in low budget, you say, this is what we've got. Now let's make the script fit.
Exactly.
And that's in Hollywood right now, everything is contracting. No one wants to spend money. Yeah. So I feel like we're right in that pocket of perfect opportunity.
That's wheelhouse
to right say there. We can make this stuff.
I'm so happy for you. Like, I'm so happy that things are clicking on all the right levels. Yeah, we're gonna get this up probably when it's happening, when it's all going down. Yeah.
Perfect. It's an onslaught. No, that's exactly the way. I mean, that's the best way to help us, because we're trying to get as much attention. I really want this production company to be like, okay, we've got to jump on board, because I'm like, if you're not interested, I've got 5 more that I'm going to go to. So get on while the getting's good.
Right. I like that. Exactly. That's perfect. Couldn't have said it better. Yes. My friend, give Lauren a big hug for me. I'm sorry I'm going to miss you guys this time around, but I'm bursting with pride for all of you.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. And JD, thank you always. Like, you guys are such a good contrast. I love the questions are different. The energy is different. It's just, this is a good combo. You got something here.
We'll take that.
Wow. Yes.
All right. Thanks, lady.
Thank you.
Bye. Susie.
Hey, bye.
How are you?
I'm really well. How are you?
I'm good. I was explaining to JD and our viewers, because we started recording a little bit early, but I was saying how taken I am with your posts and the level of knowledge that you have about what's going on and why this upcoming election that we're having over here in the UK on July 4th. So funny. Like, America celebrates their independence from Britain, and Britain's having a vote on the exact day.
I was thinking that.
What is your understanding of the smaller parties? Because I know how we feel about the independents in the States, that they just fuck everything up. You know, you got 2 clear front runners, and the margin is so small that it's going to come down to people that, if they're undecided, because I always think when you're a week out, you know who you're voting for, but it doesn't feel that way here in the UK. I feel like people are figuring it out up until the last second.
Yeah.
Do you have that feeling? Like, I get that.
I mean, I think some people probably don't know who they're going to vote for when they go into the booth, and they sit down and they go, okay, this one. But I don't understand that philosophy. Yeah. I mean, let's face it, as queer people, we are politicized. Right. Anybody who says they don't understand politics, or they don't feel as though politics has got anything for them, for goodness sake. I mean, if you're any kind of minority, if you live in the countryside, if you live in the city, if you live near a phone mast, if you want clean water, any of these things is a political thing. All of us have been politicized at some point, and if you don't vote, then you leave the field open for other people to decide.
Mm-hmm. And then you have the right to sit around and complain.
And well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that, so to kind of go back to your question, I think the small parties are are really important. I mean, I think we know that the Liberal Democrats, they're polling about 11% at the moment, I think, on average. So they will get some seats. I mean, it might be 20, it might be 40 seats, and it could be that they will be the main opposition to, or the main likelihood of getting rid of a Tory candidate or a Tory sitting MP in quite a lot of seats. Now, I know that they have decided not to spend money everywhere. They're being very strategic and spending their money only in the places where they think they might win. So if you've got a Lib Dem candidate that finished second last time around, or is polling second, and you're a Labour supporter, you need to be voting tactically. You need to be getting behind the party, whichever party it is, apart from the Reform Party, of course.
Right.
Whichever party. So if it's the Liberal Democrats, if it's the Greens, no, the Greens will probably return an MP down in Brighton. Whichever party it is, if it's Liberal Democrats, Labour, or the Greens, then vote for that party. Whoever's got the best chance of unseating a Tory MP, that's what we need to be voting for. So if we get a Tory MP and they've got less than 40 or less than 50% of the vote, then effectively everybody else has voted for multiple parties, and we could have got rid of a Tory, and that would be a disaster.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are definitely some Tories that we want to see the back of. We need to see the back of. I mean, I would love to see Sunak lose his seat. That would be fantastic. But Kemi Badenoch, Braverman, Keegan, Miriam Cates, all of these people, that we need to be getting rid of them because they're extremists.
Yes. Yeah. They've got that far right extremist mentality, and they have no problem, saying it. You know what I mean? Because we live in a society now where that's like, ooh, that's okay. That's okay. You want to say hateful things? That's all right. It's your right. Free speech. It's not okay.
It's not okay. Because they own. The other thing that they will do, and you can guarantee they will do this if the Tories get back in, is they will withdraw the UK from the European Court of Human Rights. And if they do that,
that's a big thing.
It's not just about queer people and trans people. That is about everyone, because that is, I mean, the European Convention on Human Rights. That is the thing that promises fair elections. It's the thing that promises that you will have your rights to health and employment law, and I mean, there are so many things that governs.
Yeah. If you think about
the laws on protest,
human rights encompasses, I mean, your protections, your fair trials, all that kind of stuff. It's deep. It runneth deep, and you really cannot be without.
If they get to withdraw us from that and they get to rewrite it themselves, we are done. We are. I mean, that effectively we become a rogue state. And the reason why is that the European Convention on Human Rights was written after the Second World War to stop countries from treating their own people like the Nazis treated the German people in the 1930s and 40s. I can't state enough how important it is that when they're not allowed to do this. This is why the Tories need to be completely eviscerated, because if they are destroyed entirely, they will have to stop and think again, and if they rebuild, they will have to rebuild in a different way, in a more sympathetic way. Because if they're allowed to rebuild as they are, then they will come back next time.
It'll be worse. Yeah.
It'll be worse.
Yeah, it'll be worse. It's absolutely imperative, that people understand what's at stake. And it's not just I think some people just kind of like they've become immune. And their biggest concerns are their work week, their childcare, like things like that. it's become such a me, I
Yes.
society that, I think the magic word you just said is you need a party that has some sympathies, some
Mm.
empathy, that
Yeah.
sees the hope in humanity as opposed to crushing it out and and building this weird far right authoritarian state. And it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
we're like a finger snap away from it.
Yeah.
And elections are the things that matter, are the
Yeah.
things that do it. So I feel like, you know, don't get me wrong, because I love my gay brothers. I do. I love the gay part of LGBTQ. I love them, but sometimes I think that they are all about the fun and games, and their status and their influence and their, fine, do I have enough money to go out this weekend? Like that kind of thing. And they're not looking at big picture stuff because, I mean, let's not beat around the bush. Like entitled white guys, don't have a lot to worry about. They just don't. So if they're community driven, I feel like they'll get it.
Yeah.
But if not, like someone's got to wake them up,
Yeah.
wake them up and say, look, you can get to the pub, you can get to the club, but just go vote first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like go
I
vote.
mean, I agree. I mean, it does feel like as a community, we stopped being, or a lot of the community stopped being political after we got gay marriage, because that was
The
almost
work
like
was done.
the
Yeah,
work was done.
yeah. I'm
And I
tired
think there's a
now.
there's a reason why most of the chief executives of Stonewall recently have been women, have been lesbians,
Right.
because they
It's
are still
done.
fighting,
Yeah.
because there is still work to be done.
Oh God, yeah.
And I
It's
think one of the great things, okay, so I think what's happened to the trans community has been horrible. But one of the things that it has done is that it's radicalized us, it's politicized us, and it's meant that we are starting to organize.
Mhm.
And and I think this will be the legacy of this generation. I always thought our generation, that our job was to hand on better rights and equalities to the next generation than we inherited from us. And
Right.
I now don't think that's necessarily possible, because I think we don't have any representation. Well, there are no trans people. Well, okay, so there's one in Parliament, but he's a Tory and he's never voted outside of the Tory whip. So
Yeah.
I
I
think
feel
that,
that way. Like I don't understand
yeah,
why there's gay Republicans. Like I don't.
well, I know. So we've got no representation. We've got no voice. So I think creating the lobby groups, creating the organisations that can train other people in what to say, that we can teach people about trans people, we can teach people about um, how to be political. And I think that is going to be our legacy, to make sure that the next generation doesn't start from scratch. The next generation starts with a group that can put some political pressure onto the people that we need to put it onto, and also to create and choose people that can be the next generation of trans politicians. We're
Mhm.
starting to see those people in the States now.
Mhm. Mhm.
Zooey Zephyr, for example.
Yes.
But there aren't any in the UK. And we had Eddie Izzard try, Susie Izzard. I think they're happy with both. She's happy with both.
Right.
Try to be selected as a Labour MP and not make it either of the times. And if somebody who's been on the National Executive Committee of the Labour Party can't be selected as a Labour MP because they're trans, then it's not going to happen for us just yet. But
Right.
in the next generation, it might. But we need to be able to identify those people now and say, right, these are the people that will be able to do that. And I think because we're becoming more politicized, and because we're standing up and starting to say, wait a minute, this is me. Somebody like Eva Echo, I can see being a great MP, because she's politicized. She knows what to say. She's got an extraordinary ability to take people on the journey with her, and people follow her.
Yeah.
And I would certainly vote for Eva. I mean, she's an extraordinary person. I mean,
Yeah.
she's a friend of mine, but so I think I'm probably a bit biased, but a little bit.
But no, I think you recognize like when someone is influential, but also using that for good, and knowing the nuances and how to speak to people and educate them and inform them.
Completely. But I think we have to be in the room when our lives are discussed, and we're not at the moment. There's no trans people in the room when trans lives are discussed, and that's got to be the target that we set, because otherwise we end up with what we've got at the moment. We end up with a government that's able to parachute their people into all of the policy making positions,
right?
And then the policy changes, which is, I mean, Kemi Badenoch has said that policy changed when she managed to put all of the gender critical people in the positions that she needed to put them. So we need to have somebody that can talk for us with trans lived experience, and until we have that, we have no power.
Right. I 100% agree with that. I really do. It's, I watched when I was back in Florida recently, I get a very different CNN than what we have here. Because what we have here, whether it's digital or whatever, it's the international, feed. So when I'm there and I'm watching regular CNN, in the evenings, they have Anderson Cooper does stories, and he did one on what it's like to be a trans athlete, from the perspective of parents and that student, that is trying, so hard. And it was so well done because it was every perspective, including the board that makes those decisions and why they're making those decisions. And that's part of, again, I think we become desensitized to things. And that means we stop listening. So even though we know what our points are and we've educated ourselves or whatever, to talk to somebody and hear why they want this rule in place, allows you to open up to counter, with, well, here's what we think, kind of thing. And it was an amazing dialogue. And I was like, why is this just limited to the States? Like, why can't I get this over there? Or how can I? And I know there's ways, like I'm sure there's ways on CNN to listen to past shows or as podcasts now and all that. But for me, it was even the doctors. They even, spoke with the doctors, and it was just, I just think if there were more outlets and avenues to educate people on these kinds of things, that it wouldn't be such a stunted conversation when it does come up. It's just heartbreaking that this hate has just been unleashed, and it's just fueled. It's fueled, and that makes me crazy.
Yeah, it's difficult. I think the thing is that anybody who's studied any kind of LGBT history will recognize that it's just the history repeating itself. I mean, this is just what happened in the 70s, 60s, and 70s.
Yeah.
Around with gay men and lesbians and bisexual people. Probably that came a little bit later, because I think it was really, bisexuality wasn't really understood back then. It was mainly focused around kind of gay men and lesbians.
Right. It was like two categories, and that was it. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And so there was a lot of almost all of the tropes that are aimed at trans people now were aimed at gay and lesbian people back then. And you look at someone like a lot of the gay men who have got social media presences, someone like Matthew Hodson, who's the AIDS campaigner, will regularly say, I saw this in 1980, I saw this in 1985. This is exactly the same thing that's coming about. So if you know your gay history, or you know your queer history, then you can see what's going on. What's
the pattern. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
a repeated pattern coming up, right?
What surprised me is that we weren't ready for this to happen. It feels like we were caught off guard.
Hmm.
So we were maybe we just because we were partying for
Right.
20 years and no
Comfortable.
one
Yeah,
came,
comfortable.
yeah,
Right.
so oh, pride, let's party.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and while we were doing that, all these right wing organizations were taking a very long view, and they were saving and they were funding their candidates and putting them in position so that at some point all of these sleepers can go, okay, right now we're ready. And suddenly we were sitting there and we're going, oh my God, we're completely overwhelmed because all of these people are in position. They're
Yep.
all in policy making positions.
Yeah.
And and suddenly with Trump in 2016,
Mm.
you had the switch where you had this puppet that they could control,
Hmm.
uh, and thankfully, I guess it took them by surprise, and they weren't ready.
Yeah.
So a lot of the things they would have done didn't happen. Now they won't be caught out like that next time, and they're obviously preparing the UK. The one thing about the UK is that the right wingers were already in government.
Mm.
So they're able to enact a lot of the things. So a lot of the things that are happening in US states are happening in the UK as kind of countrywide because kind of when you've got Republican state, you've got a right wing state, we've got a right wing government.
Yeah.
Um, if I think a lot of the stuff they wanted to do, they've run out of time for. But if the Conservatives get elected again, then it will be open season.
Yeah.
It will
Exactly.
be absolutely horrific. And once they've finished with us, once they're finished with the trans community, they won't stop. That
Right.
won't be the end of it. They will then, because the Christian nationalist, it was always their game plan to come after gay marriage. And when we've
Mhm.
seen with women's bodily autonomy, with abortion rights in the
Yes.
US, they will come after everything else.
Yeah, that's the sad part is that it's like fuels, that their wins fuel them, to get bigger
Yeah,
and bigger and bigger. So
yeah,
I just think that I'm glad that we're having this conversation. Like I said, I think it's so important. We're on the cusp of a fucking meltdown,
we
like an
completely are.
absolute,
Yeah,
yeah, like it's going to be a clusterfuck, everywhere. So these conversations are conversations that, oh, it's so fun to get together and have cocktails and hors d'oeuvres and hang out with our friends and have game night or whatever. But these are conversations right now that are so important in the run up to this July 4th election
yeah,
that sometimes you just got to put the fun stuff aside for a second and have a serious moment with your friends and just say, like, are we all on the same page here? Like, is everybody, where are you at with this? And just check in with your friends and make sure, have a plan, like if you know somebody that needs 20 quid to take an Uber to their polling station, fucking give it to them. You know what I mean?
yeah,
There are
absolutely.
no excuses. Make a plan, help friends with their plan. But we can't sit on our asses. We can't sit this one out. And I'm saying this as a person who can't vote here. You know what I mean?
And oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, I just
But it
have
matters. But it matters,
integrity.
doesn't it? I mean, because it matters to people that you care about as well. So
That's just it. And that's the thing. It really, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter if you're straight because I guess it does. I guess, they think differently and there's other things that are important to them. But the fact of the matter is if you peel it back a little bit, there's probably somebody from our community that they love,
yeah,
or that they're friends with, or that's important to them in some way. And, you have to just say, I hope that they take that into consideration. There are things that are important to you and your family. But, there's a bigger picture to be had here. And I'm really glad that you had time tonight to just explain the things that are at stake and,
yeah,
and how very important it is um,
yeah.
in the next couple of weeks to, do the research, get your shit together, make a plan, and there are no excuses to not go vote.
No,
Very
no,
important.
it's brilliant. And I think one thing that is a good thing to remember is that there are a few websites that are that will advise you on how to tactically vote. So if you want to get rid of the Tory candidate, go and look at these websites, and they will tell you which candidate in your constituency is the most likely one to be able to unseat the Tory. And okay, so there might be a lot of people who've never voted anything but Labour.
Mm-hmm.
But if a Liberal Democrat candidate is the most likely candidate to unseat a Tory MP, vote Lib Dem.
Right.
If you're a Lib Dem and the Labour candidate is the most likely to get rid of a Tory candidate, vote Labour or vote Green in Brighton. If whichever candidate is the most likely to get rid of that Tory, go vote for that candidate. It doesn't matter if you're always voted for one party. If you're a partisan voter, this time you need to vote tactically.
And we're like we were saying, how Pink News is listing those kinds of things. So that's a great resource right there. But what if someone, like say I was able to vote, I wouldn't even know how to find out. Is it like an area thing? Like how would you find out how to unseat a Tory?
Well, as I said, there will be a website. You can go and look, see what the voting was in your constituency last time. If you put your constituency in or put your postcode in and say something like what's the voting in my postcode last time,
right,
last election, there should be a site somewhere that will tell you.
Okay.
But obviously we know there has been a massive swing to the Labour Party over the last 12 months, 2 years.
Right. Yes.
So I would say put in how do I unseat my local Tory MP into Google, or tactical voting for this election, for the 2024 general election, something like that. And that will give you a website where you can put your postcode in and it will tell you what the voting is looking like in your local constituency. Then you can make a decision based on that. But I think tactical voting is going to be really important. If we're going to get rid of some of the really big hitters, if we're going to get rid of Rishi Sunak, if we're going to get rid of Kemi Badenoch, because they've got massive majorities, they've got 20, 30,000 majorities. The only way to unseat those people, and these are really dangerous people, the Tory health minister, if we're going to get rid of them, we have to vote tactically. So everyone has to get behind one candidate. It might be somebody that you're not particularly fond of normally, but
or familiar with, right?
Right. Go vote for them.
Right.
But also, if your party comes and knocks on the door, ask them some questions. I've got some questions actually. I don't know whether you've got time that I can read out.
Yeah, because that just happened the other day, and I just, I was fortunate. My wife wasn't home, but I was fortunate enough to say, I can't vote in this election, so I don't want to waste your time. Boom. Yeah. But Jesus, now that I think about it, I probably should have. Hear what they have to say.
It's interesting because it gives you a chance to find out what your local candidate is doing.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, I know I've just said you should get behind one candidate, but it will help to find out what people think.
Yeah.
So
before you even start, I'm gonna quickly advise to don't do your research through your neighborhood Facebook group, because it's literally just opinions.
Yeah.
No factual anything. So take that off the list as a way to do this. So go ahead. Tell me what to do when that person comes knocking on my door.
Okay. So I've got 9 questions.
Okay.
So the first one is, how do you plan to ensure that the LGBT community feels safe going about their day-to-day lives, given that hate crimes against LGBT people have risen so much? Second question. If you're, wait a minute. Okay, so second question. Conversion therapy is still legal in the UK. Will you commit to a comprehensive ban on conversion practices if elected? Now, we know that pretty much only the Tory party and Reform are against that.
Right.
But it would be interesting to see what individual candidates say about that. So LGBT people have poorer mental health outcomes than cis and straight people. What would you do to improve mental health services for LGBTQ people?
Good one.
Question 5. LGBT LGBTQ people, it's getting late. Oh, wait a minute, I've got that question twice. Trans adults are waiting on average 4 years for treatment. Actually, it can go up. This can go up to 20 years at the moment, but it can.
Right.
How do you ensure that all trans people can access the healthcare they need? And this includes trans youth. That might get a range of different answers, but let's see. Many LGBTQ plus people still face financial barriers to accessing IVF on the NHS. What will you do to make sure that every queer and trans person has the chance to start a family?
Oh, wow.
Okay, penultimate one. I believe that LGBTQ plus inclusive education is important. What will you do to ensure this is protected in schools? And finally, the UK used to be the highest rated for LGBTQ equality. We're now rated 16th. What steps would you take to ensure that the UK once again regains its #1 status for LGBT equality? So those are all kind of questions that it's worth.
Good. Oh, my
if they
God.
come and sit on your doorstep and say, I'm your local candidate, would you vote for me? So I think it's good to interrogate them.
Yes. Very, very smart move. That would be amazing because they are out. They're out in full force. They know it's important. So, yeah, like you said, let's get some answers. Let's push and see where they stand on certain things. It's incredible. That's a really, really great. That's really good advice. I mean, we need to know things like this. Like I said, this is just it's way too important. Susie, thank you a million times over. I know it's late here. I know that you've it's busy. It's Pride Month, for God's sake. So I know. So I'm gonna let you go. But again, a million thank yous for doing this. Like I said, it's so important, and I'm so glad that you are like me and understand the importance and what we need to do. What we definitely need to do. So appreciate it. And I'll see you on the socials.
You will. Denise, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
I thank you so much for your smarts on these things. Thank you. Okay, have a great night. Bye.
I wake up in the morning with voices in my head. I try to find a reason to get out of my bed. My mind is so distracted by what used to be a dream. The best things in life aren't always what they seem. I'll start a new page, take a new direction, dance in the rain, try some reinvention. With faith I will get through the storm. I'll find my way on my own. I'm almost home. There's a freedom in the feeling. There's nothing left to lose. And my future destination will be what I will choose. I know life can be tough. I'll be a little tougher when I see the lightning. I won't fear the thunder. I'll start a new page, take a new direction, dance in the rain, try some reinvention. With faith I will get through the storm. I'll find my way on my own. I'm almost home. Sometimes it was a hunger that kept me alive, but I've made my peace and I have survived. I'm almost home. thunder. I'll start a new page, take a new direction, dance in the rain, try some reinvention. With faith I will get through the storm. I'll find my way on my